Hey, welcome back everyone. Today we're talking about palms or fists. In the ring, of course, you always use fists because you've got gloves on. So, of course, most competitive styles, in fact all competitive styles to my knowledge, they punch for everything. They never use palms because that's how the gloves work. They put the protection, the padding over the knuckles, okay? But for the street, which one is better, punching or palming? When you've got no protection on your hands, what should you do? Both, of course. They both work brilliantly in the right situation. When should we use palms and when should we use fists is basically the lesson for today. Head, neck region, you can use both, okay? The times when you should use a palm over a fist to the head and neck region is if you are delivering tremendous force. This is okay. Boom! Something like that. Right? Straight on the nose. Boom! That's okay. Because it's not very hard. What's the benefit of that? Over using the palm. Okay? What's the benefit? The only benefit to using the fist over the palm for that sort of very long range, basically a jab, like a boxer's jab, is range. So if I'm standing here and I need to hit him, but I don't want to have to move my body in too far, it's advantageous to use the fist. If you're already close, or he's moving in on you, use the palm. So if I'm in range, let's say I'm about here. I'm in range to hit with the palm. I'm actually too close to hit, well, not too close, but I'm close to hit with the fist. I could be here and still hit with the fist. So if I'm here to hit with the palm, I'd have to really move my body in. So maybe he sees that coming more. Whereas with the fist, from that same position, boom! You see? Or just a little bit of a body shift and I can hit with the fist. Boom! You see? Palm, from that same position, I can either do that, lean over too far, which is no good, don't want to do that, but realistically, to really hit from that same position, I need to move my body in. So now I'm here, okay, I can reach with my palm and I can reach with my fist. To me, there is no reason why you should use a fist. Because from that position, okay, what's going to happen? That's too much pressure for a fist. If you hit the wrong part of the body, sure, you hit him straight on the side of the jaw, that's fine. Or straight on the nose, that's fine. But what if you aim here and he tucks his head and you hit him in the forehead? Just grab something that's hard-ish, like a head, and punch it. Just increase your pressure until you're kind of going, that's a bit ow. And then do the same thing with your palm. You'll find you'll be able to put a hell of a lot more power behind it before something gets sore and possibly breaks. So in my opinion, and pretty much all martial artists have the same opinion, even boxers. I've spoken to I've trained with professional world champion boxer MMA fighters. The main one that comes to mind is Carlos Newton. And I asked him, we were sparring, and I asked him straight up, hey, what's your opinion on fists in a street fight? And he was not only a professional, he was a world champion MMA fighter, but he also grew up rough in South America. So he'd been in street fights. And he said, oh, I would never throw a punch in a street fight. No, I'd use open palms. Straight up. I'm like, oh, fantastic, okay. You might not break your hand when using a fist, but there's a hell of a lot more chance you might. So why not use the palm? You can use the palm. You're still going to knock someone out with your palm. So why do you need to use a fist? The only exception is if you need that little bit of extra range. But if you're right on the edge of your range like that, it's not going to be a heavy punch because you're right on the edge of your range. It doesn't have the potential to go in deep. So with that light, snappy power, like a jab, it's very unlikely in that case that you will break your hand. It's only if you're putting more force behind it, stepping in like a cross or a hook or something, that you're going to do damage to your hand. If you're very, very close, then it doesn't really matter. Because if you're in very, very close, probably for in the front, you're better off using your palm. Well, I wouldn't actually use my palm. I'd use my fingers in the eyes and in the neck, that kind of thing. But let's say from the side, you might, okay? That's fine. It's really a personal preference now. So I can do that, or I can use the fist. But again, because I'm so close, that amount of force is unlikely to break my hand. And you might find that, you know, when you're working with a certain person, there's certain positions where the fist might just fit in a bit better than the open palm. So that's where it's useful. What I'm saying is, in general, if in doubt, if you're just sort of throwing strikes out and not being too accurate about it, use your palms. But if you see an opening and it's going to fit in there, sometimes the fist will work quite nicely. But only from a close range, basically only when you're not putting too much power behind it. Body. Fists for the body. Generally. It's kind of the reverse. Generally fists, sometimes palms. Whereas for the head, it's generally palms, sometimes fists. Okay, the reason being, I'll just use like an average, let's say, I don't know, like a solar plexus height. So that's about here. Okay, I'm going to stand here like so. Let's just assume a situation where I'm square on, right? I can do that fine, no problem. Okay, do a punch there. All right, so there's no problem there. Now I'll try to do the same thing with the palm. I don't want to put any more power behind it. See how it wasn't as powerful, I wasn't putting as much oomph behind it. This lines up nicely, look at it. It's nicely lined up. Come on. Change that same positioning to a palm. Look how bent the wrist has to be. If you're using palm strikes, you do not want your wrist to be maxed out. That's as far as my wrist bends, which means if I get it perfect, I should be okay. But again, never rely on your shot being perfect. So when you do a palm strike, you want the force down the bottom half of your palm. Most of it. The top half will still hit, but most of the force is going to be down the bottom section of the palm. If most of the force goes across the top and you're already locked out, just try it yourself. You can feel it's going to damage your wrist with lots of force. Down the bottom, even if you are maxed out and you hit down the bottom, you'll be okay because the force is traveling straight into your wrist, you see, like that. Whereas up here, it's bending your wrist, so we don't want that. So try it yourself. When you stand in front of your bag, or your partner, for that matter, when I'm up here, you see, look at the angle. You see, this can still bend all the way back here. So even if it does hit up there, what will happen is it will bend, it will give. But if I take that angle down, the further I take that down, look, here, now take it a little bit further. See here, I can't even get it to hit. I can't even get my heel palm on there. Okay, now let's try and change the angle of the hand. Maybe turn the fingers out the other way, or same problem. Still the same problem. My wrist is still maxed out. So much better off in a close quarters front-on position like this to use your fist. The only time we can use the palm to the body is like that. It's a large V step out to the side. Now I can use my palm strike. Okay? So that same shot that we were using with the punch, yeah, now I can go use the palm strike, and that's a good heavy shot now, you see. Now it works, you see, from that angle, in here. It works quite nicely as well. So there, you could use your fist in there, you know, like your kidney shots, your up under the floating rib, that kind of stuff. I can do either. So around from the side, either or, whichever suits you. They both work nicely. So essentially, anywhere that the palm doesn't have to be maxed then a palm is fine. Some styles of martial art, when they throw that low punch, they drop their body weight. You know, that's another option. It does give you more range in order to do that. And I will do that myself sometimes. Because if my arm's on a downward angle, I'm losing range. That's where I get maximum range. As soon as I go on a downward angle, see, look, the hand goes further away. So if I want to punch down slightly, I can still hit him there, no problem. But I need to be closer. So if I am closer, you see, I can punch down low, punching right down here, but my elbow's bent. Okay? So by my elbow being bent, it means that my forearm is still actually going, I'll do it this side so you can see. You see my forearm's still going straight in. Whereas at a distance now, see now my angle is actually punching downward. Look at the angle of my body. Most people will stand slightly curved forward. They won't be bolt upright and they certainly won't be leaning backwards. So the only time a downward strike works is either to certain areas of the body, like maybe the top of the neck, collarbone or something, but in terms of lower body portions, maybe if you've hit him and something like that has happened, there's an exposure, that's where you could do a downward strike. So you've done something, you've knocked him back, he's falling backwards, that's where you could do a downward strike into his body. For the same reason, the palm, if I put the bag, for example, like this, right, now I could palm it at that same height because it's angled forwards. But no one's going to stand like that. If I change it to the reverse of that, so now it's a little bit more like a human would be standing, a bit curved forward. Now I can't, before I could at least hit it sort of, now I can't hit it at all. Head height, even angled forward, I can still hit it, no problem. Because it's so nice and high, my elbow's dropped, there's no pressure on my wrist. But maybe I could hit about there, maybe chest height. Anything lower than that, look, my heel palm's not even touching anymore. And you're not, okay. Yeah, so in this case, if I turn it out, I can at least kind of get it on there, but it's still not comfortable. I would still need to be off center. So that just about wraps it up. I will mention one more thing. Back of the palm versus back of the fist. That's still palm versus fist. Now, I've just done a whole video on that specific thing. I'll link it down the bottom in the description. So if you want more detail on this particular subject, I've done a whole other video on that particular one. I also include hammer fist versus hammer palm. So there's the two things that I talk about in that particular video. So that sort of is in the same line here. When should we have the hand open versus when should we close it? Just in a nutshell, hammer palm over hammer fist every time. Why? Watch the other video. Back palm, boom, versus back fist. Fist most of the time. There's a few times where the back palm will work nicer than the fist, but generally speaking, back fist over back palm. Again, I go into details as to the why and how to test it, how to see what will work for you in the other video, which is in the description on this video.